Now we're going to have a look at the French newspapers. Elena's with us here on stage. She's talking polls today, lots of conflicting ones.
It's all about the polls. Le Figaro headlines, in fact, on the same poll that it did yesterday. That's the one that finally shows Sarkozy ahead for the first time in this presidential campaign by 28.5% to 27% for François Hollande in the first round. Anything's possible, proclaims their editorial. This just goes to show nothing has yet been decided. Lots of people have yet to make up their mind, and it could all change before the 22nd of April. 39 days to go, of course. For Libération, though, things look really rather different. They've got Nicolas Sarkozy drawing his own poll as he goes along there on that front page. And inside they point out there was another poll also released yesterday which shows Sarkozy actually behind by 2 points. Why are they so different then? Well, the paper reckons that it could be to do with the methods of polling. The poll by IFOP, which has Sarkozy ahead, was conducted on the internet, so you could, if you wanted, vote as many times as you like, really. Whereas the other one was conducted by TNS Sofres, who actually ring people up. So, you know, it's a little bit of a more reasonable, more trustworthy polling method, say Libération. They also say this survey showing Sarkozy in front was extremely convenient for the Élysée, coming as it did after, on Sunday, his big speech at Villepinte, where he made his big policy proposals to do with changing the Schengen Agreement, enforcing border controls, and trying to encourage European production, French production especially, by imposing tariffs on foreign products. So for Le Figaro, it's easy to spin that as, look, these policies are doing really well with voters. He's the president of the people now. He's appealing to what ordinary working-class voters want. For Libération, though, that's just the latest in a series of guises that the president has tried on since the beginning of this campaign. There was what they called the reforming president, then there was the European president back when he was so friendly with Angela Merkel. Now he's done a U-turn on that. We've even had what they call the poor me president, when he was talking about how he was going to leave politics if he loses and apologising for things. So they reckon there's no real evidence that this new guise, this new strategy is working any better than the previous ones.
He's still going on and on about immigration, though, isn't he, Sarkozy?
He really is. That's his big campaign theme at the moment, that and that idea of protectionist trade tariffs, of course. And Le Parisien is looking there on its front page. Does Europe need to protect itself more? Well, they do point out that France actually takes in fewer immigrants than just about any other EU country proportionately, and immigration has been going down since Sarkozy's been in power. They also interview two different economists in there about the idea of protectionist trade tariffs to encourage French production, and they don't at all agree. One says that it would be a completely reactionary idea, and the other says that it's inevitable now that Sarkozy has let the cat out of the bag. This idea of made in France is popular with all the candidates. It's bound to happen, they say, although it would be difficult to put in place.
And they've also interviewed one of the more rather struggling candidates, Eva Joly.
Yes, the Green candidate. We were talking about her yesterday in Campaign Chronicles with Claire. She's on just 3% of voting intentions, but she was interviewed by a panel of Le Parisien readers who posed their questions to her, and their impressions, you've got to say, are very favourable. They all say that she's extremely friendly, warm, approachable, intellectually very interesting, that she understands what she's talking about, indeed that she's like the perfect grandma, two people say, because she is so friendly. But unfortunately, they all say that issues like the environment aren't going to decide how they vote. They're much more worried about things like the economy and jobs, and that while they respect her very much, her policies just aren't winning them over.
Poor old Granny Eva. And Le Monde is looking at the issue of housing.
Yes, tomorrow is the end of the winter ban, which happens every year in France, on throwing people out of their rented accommodation. So if you haven't been paying your rent over the winter, tomorrow is when your landlord can chuck you out. So Le Monde has been doing a photo reportage about this, and you can see there's a family there that are living in a caravan. They've got 3 children and have been living there apparently for months next to their half-built house that they can't get any financing to finish. They've got quite a series of photos like that, and they say, you know, this is really a huge problem in France, people who can't pay their rent. There's an enormous housing crisis, and they think none of the presidential candidates are talking about it enough.
Elena there with the French papers here on France 24.